Hey, so starting off today with uh, as you would have seen, it'll be called part three of the boot setup, but really it's kind of a part three and a part one, I guess. I decided to basically completely strip apart and redo the boot setup. Just what you would have seen already, it was just too cramped, and it was, I don't know, it didn't come out as nice as I thought it would in my head. So I decided, as much as I didn't really want to go for a full boot build like what you see people doing, I decided it was probably the best way to do it. And the fact that the car isn't really a daily use car, and it's not a big deal if a lot of the boot space is used up. So um, I'm going to go through a bunch of photos with you in a second. At the time I was pulling it out and redoing it, I wasn't in the humor just because I was pissed off about it. So I didn't really record anything. I just took a bunch of pictures and little short video clips from my Instagram story. So we'll go through a bunch of those. I'll explain how it all comes together, and hopefully you like it. Okay, so basically I started off with just the the frame, I guess, the shape of the boot, just kind of a roughly put together frame. Um, it's pretty simple, just kind of mocking it up. I made it in three sections, so there's the kind of that was the piece at the back which I was initially using, and then just made the section to the right and the section to the left. So once I had that done, to I used these grey foam inserts just as kind of a help to mock up the shapes, I guess. Um, so once I got that put together, I just took it apart and doubled it up to build up the height, essentially, so it would be level across the boot floor. Now I have since decided I'm going to take out the spare wheel, just leave the spare wheel out of it altogether, just because it's not, I don't really need it, I guess, you know. So that was it, put together and laid out into the boot. So from there, I got two big sheets of 6 mil board. Now, as you can see, there's a little bit just there where unfortunately it wasn't quite wide enough. I could just cut and chop another bit. I have it done already, which you'll see in a second in a few of the other pictures, but it's not hugely important for now. But anyway, so cut up the two, or traced out the boot carpet onto that, and then laid it into the boot. You can see the piece there that I was talking about that's missing, but we can address that later. Um, Figured out where kind of the layout of the whole thing, I guess. Compressor is going to sit to the right. I decided to split it down like vertically across the boot instead of horizontally. That way, for argument's sake, if I ever need to get at something underneath, so they're a fitting or to change a line or something like that, rather than taking the whole thing apart, I can just unscrew it from the middle and take out either the left side or the right side. As you can see there, it's split right down the middle. So again, that's the floor made and kind of mocked up in there. That's an idea for where the tank was going to sit. It looks pretty tidy. And again, just kind of playing around. It took me ages. It took me like a day to figure out what I was going to do with the manifold and where it was going to sit or how it was going to sit or whatever. But I knew obviously it'd have to be in the middle somewhere. So just pulled the frame out, screwed the base down onto it again, just kind of mocking up, and you can kind of see some of the little. Well, you can't really see it in the picture there, but I have just little marks for where the compressor was going to go. That's me marking it out there on the underside to make sure I didn't foul on any of the frame. I was going to use, after all the time I spent waiting and having Dara make that manifold stand, I ended up not using it. I was going to try and use it in some way, but it didn't work out. It looked kind of silly. So I ended up going with, I guess you'd say, a triangular sort of box or box frame or whatever. That was it, put together and mocked up onto the base. Just a quick view of it from the front. It looks kind of rough there now, but obviously, you know, it all gets covered and upholstered and so on. But it's starting to come together. It's looking pretty nice, I think. Cut a little slot at the back for the management loom, the compressor, power, the lines themselves, stuff like that. And I think it looks pretty tidy, in fairness. Like, that'll all be covered by the box piece anyway. That was just offering up the manifold onto the box. I think it looks pretty sweet. That's very close to how it would be for the finished product. I think it looks pretty nice. Carry on. Oh yeah, this is a cool little time lapse. I'll just let this one play. So what you're seeing here is some of the scraps from when I redid the headliner and the door cards, and my mother stitching together basically like a little jacket for the compressor. I had seen them for sale on the internet a couple of weeks ago. I always thought it was a pretty cool idea, but they didn't have any colour schemes that matched, so there was enough scrap. My mother's a genius at that kind of stuff, and we came up with this guy. I really like it. It still gives a nice kind of, you see a nice bit of the pattern, the kind of check and the stripes through it and so on. It's a really nice fit. I can't remember the exact dimensions to tell you if you wanted to make your own, but you'd figure it out anyway. It's easy enough. And it's just velcroed together at the back side where you'd never see it. And I think it's a really nice touch, because the original plan was I had a sheet of gold vinyl that I was going to try and wrap that part of the compressor with, but I'm not great at that kind of thing. I'd probably end up with bubbles or ripples, or with it folding over onto itself or something. So this was a much easier option, and I think cooler, to be honest, because it's kind of like a tactile, it looks cool, like it's an actual, you can see it's a physical thing on it, as opposed to just a sticker or paint laid over it, But carrying on from there, this is me getting ready to prime the tank. Just hanging up in the shed. I'm not going using that little blue 90 degrees fitting that you will see at the top here in a second, so don't worry about the tank hanging from that. But got all that primed. Here's a little time lapse of me tiger striping the shit out of it. Just the primer that I had is just a normal aerosol lid. It doesn't really work great for trying to get a good coverage, but with enough time and a bit of patience, it'll work out. It came out pretty decent. I was happy enough with it. That was it primed. I think I ended up with maybe, I think it was either 2 or 3 coats of primer maybe. Give it a little rub back again with some sandpaper. And then hit it with the first coat of white. It looked kind of cool like that, kind of like a dusty sort of white or something. I was kind of tempted to leave it like that, but it looked a bit too kind of basic. So I think that was 2 or 3 coats of white right there. Coming together pretty good. And this was the finished product then. I think that was 4 coats, or maybe 5 coats of white, I think. And then I ended up lacquering it. Now you can see this is a few screenshots from Sean's detailing page. He came to help me wet sand and buff it. It looks pretty nice there. I think that's like a full can of lacquer. I think it was maybe 5 coats or something by the end of it. And it looked pretty good. Just it felt kind of not gritty, but it had a bit of texture to it. That's something that's bound to happen. Like, that's unavoidable when you're painting stuff in a shed or whatever, But to me, I thought that looked fine. But when you can see there, it's kind of there is a bit of a reflection, but it's kind of cloudy. But Sean came on even then and buffed it, and it looks fantastic. It looks way better. You can see it's much clearer. It's hard to get a reflection on anything that's painted white anyway, but we definitely got a nice shine to it. Like, the before and the after are fantastic. I'm super happy with it. So then a few pictures of it, how it kind of sits together in the boot. I just mocked up the factory carpet, and as you can see there, I upholstered the box to match the compressor, which in turn also matches the headliner and the door panels. I have the gold Airlift plate, or fascia plate, whatever you want to call it, manifold cover, whatever. It looks really nice. Very pleased with how it all looks. And we made a little quick video. I'm very pleased with how it looks. I also, you can't see them in the video, but you can kind of tell by how it's lit. I just put 2 cheap little white LED strips on the underside, say, of the parcel shelf, where the speakers and stuff sit, just to kind of to give it a bit of light and see how it looks. I really like it. I think it's very cool. That's a nice picture there. It's kind of a shame that that's not quite well lit. It's the weird thing about those coloured manifold covers. They're a bit kind of temperamental about the light, but I'm really pleased with how it came out. I think it looks really good. Yeah, very pleased. So the next step for that then is to get it all plumbed together. Nothing is plumbed or anything there, or properly wired or anything. It was all just purely because I wanted to get this video done, because I've had all those pictures and videos saved in my iPad for ages. I just wanted to get rid of them. So next step is to get it plumbed, figure out exactly like a tidy way how to drill or cut holes in the carpets to bolt down the tank and bolt down the compressor and stuff like that. I have 1 or 2 specific fittings to buy, just so I can run a PTC fitting on the end of the leader line coming off the compressor. But other than that, it's pretty much ready to go. Just there's no point in putting it all together and then pulling it all back out when it goes to get rust repair and stuff like that, and then to get it NCT'd and stuff like that. But aside from that, the air setup is pretty much done. It's pretty much done. And once it's in the car and I've driven on it for a couple of weeks or something like that, I'll sit down and make like a proper kind of review and I guess like opinions on it in regards to easy, how it is to install, the quality of the stuff like that, what you do and don't need. Not necessarily a tutorial, but just my thoughts on how I did it. But that's going to be about it. I know I've said it like 3 times already, but this probably will be the last video for a while. I have a bunch of just like small little things to do, like paint and stuff, and I've loads of OE clips and shit like that ordered. It's not really kind of worth making a video of, but I might, we'll see. But other than that, that's going to be pretty much it for a while, so hopefully we'll see you again pretty soon.